Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Trailblazers. We are so happy that you're here to listen to some first generation stories. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to take a moment to let you know my name is Jessica Baglione. I am the interim program director for TRIO Student Support Services. We're so happy to bring this program to you tonight. A special shout out to Dr. Eric Heiser, the president of CCC. Thank you for being here tonight, sir. That's right. That's right. Congrats on the bond. Let's just do it. Yes. I'd like to acknowledge that we gather here today during Native American Heritage Month on the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have lived in and cared for this region from long before recorded history. We honor their enduring presence and express gratitude for their commitment to the stewardship of these lands. Thank you. I'd like to introduce our MC for the night, the amazing and talented Mariah Zavala. Thank you for being here with us. She's going to get the program started off.
Okay. I'm not going to stand behind the podium. Bienvenidos, los Amchanyavu, Kichamalea, Napo Mariah Zavala, extending my greetings in Spanish and Yoeme. I am a member of the Pascoyaqui tribe, Oaxacan and Puerto Rican, and so excited to be here and deeply honored that Jessica invited me to be the MC and one of the storytellers of this evening. Where to begin? I really enjoyed getting to reflect back on how long ago it was when I was also a first-gen student and I took my first steps here at school. And I'm gonna pull from my notes. I'm usually a big fan of eye contact, but this was a little out of my realm for my storytelling expertise. So I'll start with my school journey and where it started back in May 2014. I'm a graduate of Amphi High School down in Tucson, Arizona. I'm born in Fresno, California, where there's a small Yaqui community, grew up in Tucson, and I've been a resident of Flagstaff since 2019. So in May 2014, when I graduated, to 2021, it took me almost 8 years to get my bachelor's degree from our local university here at NAU. Woo, go Lumberjacks! Raise your hand if you're a lumberjack. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that was more than I anticipated. I got my degree with Bachelor's of Science in Public Health and a minor in biology. It wasn't a straight path, and I don't think it really is or ever is, especially for a lot of us that are first generation students. But it was interesting to say the least. So I'll start from a little earlier there that kind of laid that foundation for me. My grandmother never finished middle school, and she had her first child before 18 years old. And when she was taken from us, she was murdered when my mom was 12. My mom and her siblings were all orphaned at that age and laid a pretty unsteady foundation for us. My mom carried that strength forward, still graduated high school, went back to community college a few times, and finally earned her associates in 2018 and became a U of A Wildcat in the fall of 2024. Her and I often joke to this day who's the true first gen. Tonight, I'm taking the title of first generation college student. And when I look back, I was thinking about what I really wanted to share here for tonight and for our students, because this is about you guys and the folks that are here in TRIO or at CCC, whatever it is your path is, but you're a first generation college student. I thought particularly about one experience I had when I was 19 years old. It was my second year at Pima Community College, and I remember how much fear I had lived in those years. Fear of failing, fear of not belonging, of not being college material, seeing all the bright, shiny faces on the university pamphlets, seeing kids who were able to easily afford to go to school, who had access to vehicles and resources and things like that. And to be frank, a lot of those spaces weren't welcoming. And we just kept showing up, and we continue to show up anyway, right? Because taking up space in those rooms is what's needed, and sometimes it's fun, and that's resistance. And being a first-generation college student is resistance. It's courage, and sometimes it can be a little crazy, but I think there's some joy and fun in it. And there's a quote I was thinking about a lot when I was putting together this story and what I wanted to share. And I'm sure many of you have heard it, especially as you've entered your journey as a first generation college student, which is, if you tell a fish to climb a tree, it's gonna live its whole life believing it's stupid. And for a long time, I felt like that fish. I remember turning in an essay that I was so proud of that I worked on. And I think about the teacher now and how unoriginal the assignment was. It was like on that one Robert Frost poem that we all know about, right? I was 19 and I'd spent hours pouring myself into it. This was pre-AI, pre-ChatGPT. Internet was really expensive, so I was going to the McDonald's at 11 p.m. at night for my Wi-Fi, and I poured my whole heart into it. And I brought it, and when I got it back, it was just bled in red. And every section that I had worked really hard in was marked with plagiarized, and where's the source, and you couldn't have wrote this. And when I brought it to my professor and asked if he had scanned it through whatever we used then for plagiarism, he was like, no, I know how your people are. I know Yakis, I've met Yakis, and I know you don't write like this. And so I know this isn't your writing, and I want another paper. And I went home in tears because I was angry, and I wasn't gonna cause an uproar in the classroom, and I wasn't even sure what to do because this was my first time in a classroom. This was the first time I experienced anything like that in my whole family. And I was just frozen, and I was angry, and I was hurt. And I remember wondering what to do next. And when I asked her what to do, she wasn't just as unsure as herself. And we just kind of sat there in silence and just kind of ruminating on it. And so like many first-gen students, I just figured it out on my own, and it became a bump on the road. Those are our first-gen kids right there. That's right. I did. It just was another bump on the road in the journey, because what were we going to do? Either we're going to drop out and feel discouraged, or we're going to keep moving forward, right? And that's the reality a lot of us face. And I think that's the reality a lot of first-gen students in this room face. And I hope you feel seen and validated hearing that. So learning how to advocate for ourselves and still learning what advocacy looks like even in 2025, because that was, I don't even know what year that was when I was 19 years old. So, and what the teacher didn't understand at that time is that our intelligence looks different, that our stories, our culture, they're brilliance. And every time somebody underestimates us, we rise a little higher. And so, yes, I think we've all been that fish. And I think we've all tried to climb trees that really weren't meant for us, too tall, too small, or we're just not climbers, and we're swimmers. And what I've learned is this: when you stop apologizing for being who you are and you start swimming in your own lane, you realize you were never the problem. Maybe the system was, or maybe it was the teacher, or a lot of other factors, but it wasn't you. And those nights that I stayed out late studying in the McDonald's parking lot, riding my bike to the Klein Library or the Pima Library or the public library. I spent a lot of time at our East Flagstaff Library over there. Woohoo, give it up for the East Flag Library. Free Wi-Fi. What I will share is as painful and arduous that journey was, because I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it all the way. I had some great experience, but it was very exhausting. I have zero regrets taking those 8 years to get my degree. And I definitely didn't end up where I thought I would. And I'm sharing this for our first-gen students as you begin this path, because it might take you 8 years, and it might take you 4 years, and it might take you 2 years. But I had started college wanting to be a dentist, and then I switched to dental hygiene, double gross, then to public health, and somehow through some miracles and connections and a lot of coffee, I landed in community development and marketing. And I get to support a lot of nonprofits and small businesses and be in spaces like this to storytell and share and collaborate. And that's what happens when you stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start creating your own. And that's really what being a first gen is all about. It's about being the first to get your degree. It's about being the first to believe and say, I can build something different for the generations after me. And so to anyone here tonight who's still in the middle of it, still figuring it out, maybe not posting or replying to that discussion board you're supposed to right now because you're hanging out here to get a free meal, that's okay. That's why I'm here. Still carrying any of that fear or doubt, you're not behind. You are becoming. You are the dream your family prayed for, and if your family is not in your corner, you don't have that community. You are the dream that someone out there right now with your same lived experience is praying for. You are living proof that it's possible. So don't shrink yourself to fit into a box that was never made for you. Be brave enough to build your own. Because when you do, you don't change your life, just change your life. You change your family's story, you change your community's story. You show the next generation that they don't have to climb trees, that they were never meant to climb. And you can swim very powerfully, very beautifully in your own lane. You belong here, you're worthy, and you're just getting started. I must have some affinity with climbing trees. And with that, I want to say thank you for being here, for showing up, for choosing courage to not stand in your own way. And tonight is about celebrating you and the stories of those who have also overcome these barriers and reminding ourselves that we belong in every space that we step into. And so with that, we're going to introduce our first speaker, which is Davin Chambers. Give it up for Davin. And actually, I have his bio right here, please, just to get him warmed up. Davin is a proud NAU graduate with a bachelor's degree in business administration and comparative cultural studies. Davin worked through college and industries ranging from construction to education, and even spending time in Beijing, China, helping a marketing team connect international students with US universities. Today, he serves as Flagstaff's community financial advisor from Edward Jones, helping individuals and families create strategies for long-term financial success, and is the co-chair for the Boys and Girls Club. Give it up for the Boys and Girls Club. Woo! So Davin, the floor is yours, and we are so grateful you're here to share your experience.
Thank you, Mariah. I am going to stand at the podium. All right. Excellent. You guys can all hear me all right? Like we were said, my name is Davin Chambers. I graduated with a bachelor in business management as well as comparative cultural studies. I had minors in philosophy and Mandarin linguistics, man, that was not an easy road. Just like many of you guys, not only was I first gen, but I came from a really low income family. We were hit really hard by 2008, so during that time in my life, I was homeless, experiencing homelessness in LA, which is where I grew up. Working odd jobs, kind of just trying to get by, like she mentioned, construction. I worked in Hollywood for a while and a lot of different things. My destiny was really calling me to go and pursue a higher form of education, something that no one in my family had ever done to generations back. I can trace my lineage back to, slaves coming into America as well as some really poor Scots coming into America in recent times. None of them had education or really even knew how to read or anything like that. So it was a really big step for me to decide that I was going to, pursue something more than what I was. And doing that with no one at my back, not really having anyone to, pull from their experience was really difficult because I really had to tread my own path and be a trailblazer. These paths were difficult because just like many of you guys, and even as Mariah stated, we're so full of doubt because we don't really know if we fit in. We see all these people who are kind of having an easy go of it, or they're part of a frat that their father or their mother was a part of, or something like that. They really experience something very akin to what their past has experienced. But that's not really the case for us, and really trying to explore our own individuality is going to be one of the things that really takes us to those next levels. I studied management, I studied cultural studies, I studied philosophy and Chinese, and those are not things that I even really specifically use in my job today. But the skills that I learned by staying active with building a community, staying active with pursuing this higher education and not letting anything kind of get in my way, making sure that I didn't give up and that I had the perseverance and discipline to make sure that I was doing all the things that was required of me in my own way, was really, those are the skills that I've taken on into the rest of my life. But this doubt, this is something that you will hold on to kind of throughout your life. You will experience doubt kind of throughout your life. But doubt is a really important thing. Doubt is the most powerful weapon for or against you. But it really depends on how you decide to attack it. If you let doubt linger and just sit in your heart or sit in your space and you don't do anything about it, that will destroy you. You will feel more doubt and more anxiety and feel like the things that you're doing is just not good enough. But if you pursue that doubt with truth, trying to find the truth in that doubt, you will surprise yourself with what you can do. Like I said, I grew up homeless in LA, but when I started studying Chinese was in high school. I just started studying Mandarin because I was so bad at Spanish and actually was good at it. So I was like, man, this might be something that I really want to pursue, and living in China would be like the pan-ultimate version of that. So that's something that I want to try to do. And it seemed impossible. No one in my family had even been outside the country before, let alone being able to speak another language or know anything about that, So when I decided to do this path was full of obstacles, full of danger, full of money problems, but I never gave up. And I decided to stay disciplined through those times and pursue the doubt that I was feeling that I couldn't do this, to really test myself to see if I could. And, from 2018 to about 2019, I lived in Beijing the whole time. And just really got to experience the culture. I got to work there. I got to know people and friends that I've made there, like that I've had for the rest of my life, who have really influenced the things that I do in my life here. And even though I don't use like my Chinese linguistic skills that much anymore, or really diving into like cultural differences and things like that I studied, it was all of the other things that college brought to me that allowed me to absorb all these different skills and really kind of pursue my own individual personalized path. And that's something that I feel that all of us as first-gen students really get to experience more than even like the multi-generation students, is that this path is ours. There's no one else really telling us how to do it because no one else that we know knows how to do it. So we have to be the ones that do it, and so my challenge to you and my encouragement to you guys is to pursue whatever doubts that you guys are having with truth. Try to find where that doubt is coming from and challenge it, because you will be surprised by what you can do. And then my other thing is just be really attentive to how you're growing, how you're deciding to go down this path. Because the things that you guys are doing now, especially in this time of lots of independence, these habits that you guys are forming are going to set the tone for all the rest of the things that you decide to do with the rest of your life. So thank you guys so much for pursuing this already. I know it's not an easy thing to be a first-gen student, but you guys are doing a great job even just by being here, being present, and doing the things you guys need to do. So good job. Thank you guys so much.
The acoustics in here are awesome. I can hear everybody's little jokes, and it's making me laugh. Let's give another round of applause for Davin, please. I have the pleasure of getting to serve with him as vice chair and chair for our ambassadors at the Greater Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce. And I realized I'm up here talking about being a first gen, and I didn't even tell you guys if I'm employed or not. I'm the business development specialist at Mountain Mojo Group, a local marketing firm here. And my recent passion projects that I've been able to bring together is called the Anya Collective. I'm the founder. It is a Indigenous health and wellness group that's dedicated to youth development for Indigenous youth ages 11 to 14 years old. And we kick that off by taking them rafting in the summers. So pretty exciting stuff. Next, we're going to introduce a very good friend of mine and somebody who serves on the Flagstaff Women's Leadership Network steering committee. She's got a story that proves there's no such thing as a traditional path, only the one that's right for you. In 2012, she completed an 8,000-hour apprenticeship in Seattle to become a journeyman sheet metal worker. Woo! And she's been blazing trails for women in non-traditional trades ever since. Her Telly Award-winning video highlighting women in the field even gained national national attention. After moving to New Mexico, she served with AmeriCorps, working with the American Red Cross as a disaster responder and tribal liaison. Her journey has since woven together leadership in DEI, disaster response, community education, and now workforce development right here in our town, Flagstaff. Please help me welcome a rock climber, an educator, and proud commissioner living her own very Leslie Knope dream, Sandra Darling. Woo!
I do need the help of the podium. I'm pretty clumsy. Hi, I'm Sandra Darling, and I was honored to be here and speak with these amazing other Trailblazers. Okay. We mothers stand still so our daughters can look back and see how far they've come. That is a quote from the Barbie movie. But it speaks to how mothers create foundation for their children to build on. Being a mother was the driving force behind my own growth, and being a mother showed me what I was capable of. But it was also about watching my mother be brave. I'm proud to say that I'm the first person in my family to earn a college degree, and I'm a second-generation single mother. My own child was the first in our family to follow a traditional college path, living in the dorms and experiencing college in a way the mothers and children who came before them had never thought to dream of. My own mother completed her high school equivalency when she was 42 years old. She earned a certificate at the local community college, and she got her first job when I was in high school. Our stories are different, but they're all first, and they're proof that change is possible. Even incrementally, you can change the trajectory of your entire family. My path wasn't traditional. I completed an apprenticeship to become a journeyman sheet metal worker. I had earned my high school equivalency, and it took me more than 2 decades to finish my bachelor's and my master's, evenings and weekends. Today, I support workforce development in a nonprofit role, providing federally funded services like the ones that help my mother and me access life-changing opportunities. For my mother, a certificate. For me, summer theater in the park. My first job was the only non-singing role in Bye Bye Birdie. I raised my child between roller derby practices and roller derby business meetings. Those experiences made it into their college essay. I used what I was learning in school to help me build my team's community outreach program. As a skater, to build the community outreach programs as a skater. That community service program became my launchpad into partnership building and grassroots organizing. Volunteer work became the foundation of the resume I was building when traditional opportunities weren't available to me. I learned to use spreadsheets and build a professional network, but also how to be an organizer. And I gained the confidence to step from the construction site and roller derby track to girl boss. I lost my mother when my child is still small, but I know I'm building on what she started. And I know she would be thrilled with how far we've come. Her strength and sacrifices inspired my own. I am lucky enough to look back and to stand still. Being first gen isn't about being the first always. It's about being brave enough to reach beyond what you know and then make it real. It's about blazing the trail, lighting the path, and helping the others who come after you. Thanks for letting me share my story. Be brave and be kind.
Next up, I would say this is a man that needs no introduction, but he deserves all the introductions. This man is always dressed to the nines, never in Flagstaff casual, never in the Flagstaff drag and hiking boots and mud and things like that. And you know, I applaud him for it. This gentleman is somebody who has made it his life's work to empower the next generation. As the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Flagstaff, or how he introduced himself to me as the janitor of the Boys and Girls Club Boys and Girls Club of Flagstaff once in a while. He leads a team dedicated to creating safe, supportive, and inspiring spaces for youth across northern Arizona. His leadership centers on innovation, equity, and collaboration, ensuring that every young person has access to opportunity, mentorship, and community. Please join me in welcoming a true champion for youth, collaboration, and impact, Mark Cox. Woo! I just get so excited when he shows up.
Awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. I, like Mariah, am fun size, so I will not stand behind the podium this evening. My name is Mark Cox. As Mariah said, I am the CEO for the Boys and Girls Club of Flagstaff. Became CEO before I was 30 years old. We'll backtrack in history. So we'll start with my grandfather, 6-foot Irish man, blonde hair, blue eyes. I know they say we look alike. And he enlisted in the Army, Air Force, and was stationed in Bethel, Alaska, where he met my grandmother, who is from a remote village. So I am Yupik native. But I also look Filipino. So Yupik native, had my father. Father went through high school, never graduated, enlisted in the Navy. And then was stationed in the Philippines, where he met my mother and had us kids. And so, as the,